Hey there, folks. Welcome back to the Overflow. My name is Micah Curtis.
And I'm Alex Baldwin, the Hatman, you know me.
Hatman's exhausted because he's got a bunch of stuff to do.
Yes, I do. I've got
So,
everything to do.
the question before we get into any of this, because there's not a lot of entertainment and a lot of this is politics. Greta. Did you see what happened today?
We are in the beginning of a mass extinction, and all you can talk about is a...
It's time to stop! It's time to stop, okay? No more! Where the fuck are your parents? Who are your parents? I'm gonna call Child Protective Services. It's time to stop!
Okay, so Greta.
Okay, yes.
Did
Greta.
you
What about
see
Greta?
Did you see what had happened today?
About the whole I'm just a child thing?
Well, it gets a little funnier than that, at least in my opinion. So, Michael Knowles was on Fox News being asked about this whole thing. And he basically drops this line about how it's typical of the left to take advantage of a 16-year-old girl with a mental illness. Which, by the way, her own parents told the Daily Beast that she has Asperger's syndrome and is OCD. And then people chew him, like the guy that was across from him in on the panel got all spicy about it, like he was going to get in a fight. And then the Fox News, oddly enough, apologized and said they would not have Michael Knowles on in the future. Cowards. Let's be honest about something here. The left does take advantage of mentally ill people all the time.
Yeah.
All the time. You look at the way they push transgenderism. You know, they will do this constantly. They'd like to push children as if they are the voice of our future. Meanwhile, everybody's going, if this is the voice of our future, kill us all now because we're fucked.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we said the same thing about David Hogg and what was the little girl with the shaved head? Something, I don't even remember her name. But
I don't either.
but we said that with the Parkland kids. It's like, no, don't shove them because they're stupid and they're kids. And it's basically using a child as a shield, politically speaking.
Mm-hmm.
And this is something that I wanted to just get it out because I knew people would ask about us in the future. It's aggravating. The whole Greta thing is retarded. And I agree, quite frankly, with what Knowles said before he got into the whole thing about using a child. If this was about science, they would be leading the charge with actual scientists saying these things, not little kids.
Yep. On top of that, they don't get to use the she's just a child defense. Like you put someone up in the UN who demands that everyone treat her like an adult, and then, oh, how dare you say mean things about me? I'm just a kid. No, you don't get to use that excuse anymore. You want to be treated like an adult, you're being treated like an adult.
Yeah.
Now back your points up and stand your ground.
Exactly. You don't get to have it both ways. And for the left, it's very simple. At this point, you're basically saying that your ideas are not something that adults should take seriously.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Yep.
and I don't at this point. Also, many of you will notice, yes, I did trim my beard. The problem with growing the chin hair out sometimes is I have this weird spot. Like right now it looks all even because it's trimmed. But I have this weird patch on my face. I think it was where I got a burn when I was younger. Where it won't grow properly. So it'll grow really thick on one side and it'll grow really thin on the other. And it just it gets raggedy and nasty, and oddly enough when I wash it, it gets worse. So I just trim it down every once in a while when it gets too out of hand.
Yeah, that's why like this side of my face is not as thick as this side because I've got a scar on my chin here from when a golf club bit me.
Yep. So, no, with me, I blew up a grill. Have I told that
See,
story?
that's much more exciting than a golf club bite.
Have I told that story before? I don't know if I have.
I don't think you have.
So Dad's a preacher, right? So I've said that a million times, but so Dad, of course, there's Pastor Appreciation Month, where basically Dad and I would, because this is before he remarried, but I think this is my sophomore year of high school. Oddly enough, around the time I first started, feeling more symptoms of depression, so I was more apt to do stupid things. So what happened was, Dad got these steaks in, like these, $30 New York strips and stuff like that, just like from a butcher.
Jesus.
That went to the church and just brought them over for us. And we're like,
Okay.
holy crap. Okay. So I thawed a bunch of them out. Dad's like, yeah, we'll do steak and, potatoes and green beans and, all this other fun stuff. So I'm like, cool. So got the oven prepped for the baked potatoes. I didn't feel comfortable doing them on the grill. Got the green beans and, all nice and tasty and had them cooking slow. And then I went out to get the steak started on the grill. Well, I realized I was out of lighter fluid. And I'm like,
I think I know where this is going.
Yeah, and I'm like, shit. Now what do I do? Because I didn't want to go to the store, because I didn't want to leave the oven on, because I didn't have a car, and walk to the store, which is about 6 blocks away. So it would have been like a half-hour walk, there and back, because this isn't city blocks, this is town blocks. So I'm like, you know what? I've got gasoline that I use for the mower. And what happens next is hilarious, because I put some gasoline on there, probably a little too much given what happened next, and I'm like, fuck it. Struck the match, threw it on the grill. Thankfully, I was standing a little bit away from it, because it just went baboosh right in my face. I opened my eyes, blinked a few times, and there was soot all over it, and all of the hair on my face was singed. And given that I was an early bloomer, I already had a beard. So this all here was singed up too. So I had to go in, grab my clippers, trim it all down, shave most of it off. So all that was really left that was salvageable was the chin hair. And I was just sitting there, and then Dad gets home. Now, to be fair, I got the steaks perfect. Medium, still nice and tender. Best way to do a New York strip, in my opinion. And
medium?
Yes, medium. It's the way me and my dad like them.
Well, y'all can have them then.
It's just juicy enough, but not super rare.
See, I like my steaks rare.
If it's still mooing, it's very hard to get it right. That's the problem. Medium is safer. You've got to be an artist with steaks when it comes to getting them rare. Because oftentimes, a lot of people that I see that try to do rare, they're cold. Because they don't let the meat rest properly. It's hard. It's much harder to do it that way. But anyway,
That's why I cook mine in a skillet.
So, but they're perfectly buttered and everything, just the way we like them. And Dad's like, so we were out of lighter fluid. How did you pull this off? Then he looks at me a little bit closer, and he sees my eyebrows are halfway gone. And he goes, "You used the gas, didn't you?" Yeah. Yeah, I did. So, all right, let's go ahead and get into it. So, politics or entertainment? Where should we start?
Let's start with entertainment, because I've been hearing about politics all damn day today. So.
Okay, let's do it. So, let's go with some quick ones, and then we'll move into ones that I think would take longer. So, Incel Mafioso wants to know thoughts on the upcoming movie Cuck. The synopsis makes it sound like a train wreck and delusional.
Is this the one I'm thinking of?
It's about an alt-writer.
Yeah, that's right. About to say, I was kind of nervous for a second there typing Cuck movie into Google. But...
Yeah. Well, it comes out on October 4th. And it's about, it says here, the synopsis is, when a frustrated loner gains popularity as an alt-right vlogger, the online echo chamber turns his fears into a deadly rage. So, the basic idea is, like, he becomes like a millennial woes type, I think. And, maybe goes on a killing spree? I don't know. But,
Cuck is a gripping fly-on-the-wall character study and psychosexual thriller, tracking an isolated and lonely young man as he is indoctrinated into the online echo chambers of alt-right ideology and hate.
okay, so let me say this. I have a feeling that it could end up being hilariously bad. On the flip side, it could also be hilariously wrong. But some of the actors that they have in here are good. I mean, Timothy Murphy especially. The problem with something like this is, I couldn't expect Hollywood to get it right. And here's what I mean by that. Because it's obvious, like, they did a little bit of research. Like, if you look on IMDb, there's one image of... Like, actually, now that I look at it, the lead actor, like, they based his look. If you look at it, I'll show you. I'll send you the link on Twitter. They based him on Millennial Woes. It's patently obvious that they did. But the problem that with Hollywood doing something like this is that they are not going to be able to get it right. In the sense that they're going to try to make this about Donald Trump. They're not going to try to make this about actual alt-right ideology.
It's straight up right there on Rotten Tomatoes. Exploring the themes of twisted patriotism and sexual dysfunction, Cuck sheds light on 2019 Trump America and its roots in our society.
And that's the
we
problem.
live in a society.
That's the bottom text. That's the problem, is that if you're going to do something about the alt-right, make it about the fucking alt-right. Don't make it about John or Jane Q fucking Trump voter. Because most people who voted for Donald Trump are not the millennial woes types or the Richard Spencers of the world. They are more or less your working class dudes, but also successful people in the Midwest. Because they want to make more money. And they're going to vote for the guy that helps them make more money. And that is Donald Trump. So, that's the problem. You know, I think that if you did a movie, like a black comedy about an alt-right vlogger and all this other stuff, like you had like 1 minute, you set it with goofy music, and then like 1 minute he's raging about the black people destroying something or something else, and then the next thing you have him is like masturbating to black on white porn. That would be hilarious. At least to me. Like, that's just my sense of humor, because it's true. Because oftentimes the things that these types, you know, the way that they act, they're projecting constantly. You know, the things that they supposedly hate in the world are the things they hate about themselves. So, yeah, I think that it'll probably end up being an artistic and box office failure. So, which is unfortunate, because, again, there's material there that I see as a writer. That if you said to me, Micah, write a screenplay that is a black comedy about the alt-right, oh, you'd be laughing your asses off, all of you. And then I'd be getting death threats from Vox Day's crew. So it'd be a day ending.
There would be a lot of use of the Jew button.
Oh, you have no idea. Anyway. So that's my thoughts on it. Hatman, agree or disagree on that one?
Yeah, it's going to be a fucking train wreck. I have a feeling that people are going to want us to review this one, so I wholly expect some money thrown our way to watch and review it.
Again, like, time is money, folks. If you really want us to watch it, pay us to do it, and we'll do it.
Yeah.
I actually have Thursday night slated for Trump prophecy for me.
Oh, finally!
Yeah, I finally have been able to get time for it.
Good.
Brian
I should probably finish it then.
Yep. Brian Gilmartin asks, thoughts on Keith Olbermann getting pissy about WWE wrestling appearing on Fox and getting owned for it. Did you hear about this?
No, I didn't. This is news to me.
Okay, so they had one of the biggest stars in WWE right now, a guy named Braun Strowman.
Okay, I know who Braun Strowman is.
Yeah, so they got Braun on an MLB show because Fox has acquired the WWE after they lost the UFC. And Braun apparently, like, baseball was a big thing for his family, so it was a perfect fit. And Keith Olbermann, being a fucking idiot, just gets on Twitter and says, "You guys are kidding, right? About Strowman being on there. And talking baseball." And let's kind of like set the scenario for you. These are not words that Keith Olbermann would say to Braun Strowman's face. Because Braun Strowman is in reality, he's not 6'8". I've heard from people that have met him, he's more like 6'5", but that's still huge. But he is a strong man. So he is close to 400 pounds of muscle. Like, he's a powerful man. So if Keith Olbermann, who from what I have heard is only 5'6", were to see this man, almost a foot taller than him, and could eat him, he would not be talking like this. But that's Keith Olbermann's shtick. He talks really big behind a camera. When you confront him face to face, he's a weasel. But but again, he's also got in touch with, or had problems with every network he's ever worked for. Every single one he's gotten fired from. He's lucky that he got brought back on. So, and of course, Corey Graves, who's the color commentator on Monday Night Raw, said, "Where's your soapbox these days? At Brazzers?" What is that?
Jesus, that is a air compressor.
Oh. So anyway, but needless to say, it was a shit show. Keith Olbermann deserved all the shit he got. He probably got a stern talking to from his bosses.
Freaking hope so.
Because he's a prick. But the thing about Keith Olbermann, and this is something to keep in mind, he's one more firing away from living in his mother's basement again and doing The Resistance with Keith Olbermann. I'm going to sit here in front of a camera and lie about Donald Trump for 10 minutes. Pay attention to me. Snooki, stop playing with the yarn ball. He is a pathetic loser. So, that's my thoughts.
I'm surprised that Olbermann still has a job, to be honest.
So are most people.
I mean, how many places has he been fired from for misconduct now?
5, I think.
All but one at this point?
Yeah, the one he's at currently. And he will likely get fired at some point because of his attitude. Mm-hmm. Like they say, oh, he's a baseball purist. No, he's an asshole.
Mm-hmm.
Like there's nothing wrong with somebody from the WWE coming on your program and promoting the WWE and talking baseball when they love baseball. There's nothing wrong with that. I don't see a problem there. You would have to be an asshole to see a problem there, to be frank.
Yeah, pretty much.
All right, let's move on. Matchstick wants to know, what are our favorite bits of mindfuckery in fiction? Well, I'll give a few. the whole game of Eternal Darkness. What else is there?
Psycho Mantis.
Psycho Mantis is a really good one.
And then Psycho Mantis returning in
4.
Metal Gear Solid 4 too. That one was actually pretty good. I mean, you knew it was coming after he fucking showed up, but it was fun. Let's see.
Other than that,
the end of American Psycho, maybe?
the end of American Psycho is a good one. The end of 12 Monkeys is a good one.
Mm-hmm. Not so much a mind fuck, but I think the end of The Prestige also. Because then you have to basically watch the movie over again immediately afterwards.
Yeah, by extension, Inception as well.
Mm-hmm. And I guess Memento also, but I don't know if I'd call that so much a mindfuck, considering that that's what you're getting yourself into from the get-go.
Yeah. Terror Drome's a really good example.
Mm.
Trying to think of books.
It's hard to do with books.
Well, books, mindfuckery is kind of a little different, because I think of, like, when it comes to narrative, it's more or less something that changes your perception or makes you think differently in a very radical direction. So for those, I would pick Brave New World and 1984.
Mm. Yeah, good choices. 1984 especially, because that last line, you're like, wait a minute, what the hell?
Yeah. Let's see here. Crystal Wing 2149 wants to know. Actually, no, we'll answer that in a second, because there's two kind of how you would write things. Autist Whisper wants to know, what is IGN's animosity with the upcoming Call of Duty game? It seems like they're trying to sabotage it. Dude, that has been the game journalists' screed for years now. Any game we don't like, we're going to try to destroy it.
Mm-hmm.
Thankfully,
I guess they're not getting paid enough for the Call of Duty now.
Well, thankfully, games journalism is worthless. Nobody really cares about it. They would rather watch their favorite YouTuber play it and make their own mind up.
Mm-hmm.
The only reason people go to those websites anymore is just because of news.
Yeah, pretty much. And even then, a lot of news you can find on YouTube now anyway, so...
Yeah. There's going to be a point where games journalists are irrelevant, and I look forward to it. But no, that's what they've been trying to do this for ages. Like, the earliest that I can remember was when Ben Kuchera and Jim Sterling, like, in unison, put out, well, it was a Jimquisition video, and then Ben was an article for Polygon, basically trying to convince people not to buy Alien Isolation. Blaming it, by the way, blaming Sega for Colonial Marines. Yeah. The logic made no sense. At all. Because, as anybody will know from the history of it, the reason Colonial Marines was fucked up was not because of Sega. If anything, they didn't have enough. They didn't take enough oversight as they should have. They trusted Gearbox when they shouldn't have. That's the story. And if you want a full catalog about it, Matt McMuscles does a really good video on it on his What Happened series. Which I don't agree with a lot of the things that Matt says, especially when he starts getting political, because he's a goofy Canadian. But he does a decent job of cataloging the failures of games like that. So, yeah, like you can't lay... lay that blame at anybody but Gearbox. But the thing is, with Jim Sterling and with Ben Kuchera, guess what? They had a friend who worked at Gearbox, Anthony fucking Birch.
Yep.
And yeah, I'm fully aware that Sterling doesn't like Pitchford, but he's still friends with Anthony Birch.
Micah, today's a good day. You know why?
Is Randy Pitchford dead?
Well, no.
Oh.
Next best thing. Neither of us are Anthony Birch.
There is that. There is very much that. That's what the movie Cuck should be about. Anthony Birch.
They need to buy the rights or the license for the Wii U from Nintendo, because that pivotal scene where she takes the Wii U.
Yeah, for those of you who don't know, just look it up. It's the story of Anthony Birch and discovering how he's a cuckold is hilarious.
It's incredible.
He is a sad, sad bitch. And again, like a lot of that early Destructoid crew, you look into their personal lives, they are sad people.
Mm-hmm.
My favorite tweet ever, and I have a feeling that this is probably what got Scrump suspended one time. Which, by the way, Scrump, we still love you. But Jim Sterling was complaining about having been sick for like 3 weeks. And then Scrump just finally gets on there. He goes, maybe it's because you're a fat tosser. Like, have you ever thought of being more healthy? Like, Jesus Christ. Which, by the way, I've heard from people that have seen Jim Sterling in the rare public appearances he makes, because he doesn't go to conventions or anything like that. He just sits from his stool and complains. Like, he is ungodly heavy now. To the point where it's like, you look at him and you're like, you're going to die. You need to get help. So, and I don't like Jim Sterling at all, but I don't want the guy to, like, fucking die of fatness. That's not a good way to go. Alright. Let's move on to a couple of hypotheticals. So, Koopa's Revenge Home asks, how would Batman solve the Kira case? It's not an if question.
I don't fuck with Death Note.
But how would he? Well, yeah, you don't know what's going on, so I'll try to come up with it. So, the big thing that Batman had over L, I would say Bruce is easily as smart, if not smarter. He has technology on his side. And I would imagine he would go through similar processes. But the difference being is if you have a technological edge, if you make a phone call, if you do anything along those lines, Bruce is going to be able to track it. I have a feeling that if Bruce Wayne found out who he was and what his abilities were, he would not make two key mistakes. A, he would not gamble and get close to him. B, Kira would never know that Bruce Wayne was tracking him. He would only know that the Batman is coming for him. So, that's my thoughts. And Hatman has no opinion, so that'll have to be that.
Nope, because I don't fuck with Death Note.
Crystal Wing wants to know, how would we write Avengers versus Aliens versus Predator? Okay, so hold on. No. There are good ideas here. Don't act like that. So immediately I've got ideas. So with the Avengers, if you're gonna do Aliens and Predator, the big thing is you have to be able to have a team where this is going to feel like a big threat. So what I'm thinking is a very specific team of Avengers. We're just going to do 5. Cap, Logan, Wolverine, Widow, Hawkeye, Black Knight. So low end, street level. You get Wolverine a little bit more enhanced because he could actually fight an alien and live to tell the tale, and then could fight a predator and find it. So that would be what I would go with. Basic idea would be a rescue mission. You've got all your heavy hitters off doing other adventures. And there's a shuttle that's been come back towards the Milky Way that's heavily damaged. And is downright derelict. But if they don't intercept it and get the people off it and initiate the self-destruct, then it will eventually crash into Earth, and they can't have that. So Tony charts out what it is. Cap assembles a small team because he doesn't think that a big one is necessary, so on and so forth. So from there, it would just kind of be your general aliens versus predator fare. You know, like the big action bit with the predator. What I would do for that is you remember that part in Dead Space where they had the that plant area of the ship? Like it was like gardens and stuff like that.
The greenhouse?
The greenhouses, yeah.
Yeah.
So let's say that the ship had like a biodome instead. And the fight with the Predator is between the Predator and Cap instead of the Predator and Wolverine. And it happens in a biodome area like that. Like this, for me, I would write like a 200-page graphic novel of this. Because this would be so sick. Because I would have like the team separated at one point. You know, like something about Black Knight stuck in a hallway with a Predator in a sword fight sounds fucking awesome. You know, stuff like that. Like that's what I would do. And, you know, obviously I'm not going to kill any of the Avengers off, but I would make it feel close. Because the big thing about a story like that is you want to make sure that you have tension. You want to make sure you have, since it's an Avengers story, you want to have big fights. Since it's, you know, going to be violent, you want to be able to have some violence in it. So that's why you bring Wolverine and Widow in, because they're not afraid to get down and dirty. And then did I say objective? Yeah. But yeah, the team has to have an objective. They have to have a reason for being there. And one thing that I would have at the end of the book is, because I've already spoiled the ending, I might as well spoil what else I'm thinking, is that Thor, Tony, and Cap are standing in front of this giant computer as Tony is studying the xenomorphs. And he and Bruce are like surmising like more about these creatures and so on and so forth, and you know, are coming up with ideas. Thor walks over to the computer and hits the delete key. What, nothing? Not good?
I kind of feel like just the whole idea would be too bloated, to be honest.
You're no fun.
Maybe not. Hit the button.
Everyone shame to Hatman!
Shame! 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 Shame!
I'm gonna be honest with you. I'm kind of retarded.
All right, on to politics. Wait, oh yeah, you already added the one from the Discord and all that stuff in there.
Yes, I
so,
did. Yep.
Okay. Burrito time. All right, so Hatman, I will let you pick the questions while I eat.
All right, cool. Let's get to one from Brimshay, which we apparently missed. Why do you suppose that is the left collapsing under Trump while the right flourished under Obama?
Because the left has no good ideas.
Yeah, I think I think the right's anger at Obama was placed well, whereas the left's anger at Trump is completely misguided. I mean, between he is literally going to turn America into a fascist dictatorship, and he is colluding with foreign nationals. No, it's all cover for being too embarrassed of losing 2016.
Mm-hmm.
I think they're collapsing under themselves because they still either willingly or they're too stupid to figure out that they lost because they ran a shit candidate with shit ideas. And so they moved further to the left instead of back towards the right to get the moderate votes. I mean, the right more or less gave up on the whole gay marriage thing under Obama because, it was settled in the Supreme Court. And I think that ended up winning them a lot of favors in the end. So, as far as appeasing your middle grounders, yeah, you're not going to get anyone on your side by saying, hey, you're going to have to pay higher taxes and we're going to take your guns and shit. Mm-hmm. And God help you if you try to fight back or say anything bad online.
Yeah. I see their whole platform is destroying the country that people like living in.
Yeah, I mean your average person would call it projection. Trump is an authoritarian. How do we fight him? With authoritarianism.
Not to mention, a lot of it's the Chicken Little syndrome, or the boy who cried wolf.
Yeah.
If the sky is not actually falling, people are going to pick up on it. And that's something that a lot of people don't realize. It goes back to the Greta thing even. The sky is not falling.
Mm-hmm.
The coastal cities are in no danger of getting swallowed up by the waters. The climate is changing, yes, but it tends to do that. It's done that ever since the Earth has existed. It flies around the sun. That's just part of it. That's the science. That actually answers another question by somebody else. It's like, why don't they ever bring up the sun? That's from... Who was that?
Beats the fuck out of me.
Somebody asked a politics question of like, why do the climate scientists ever think the sun? Yeah, Jonathan Stein asked that, and we'll just go ahead and move into that question. Well, it's because they like the thing about this is that the climate. Yes, the climate changes, but the climate alarmism push is purely political. It is purely about socialism, specifically. The only way to stop doomsday is with giant government. That is exactly what they're telling you. Is that the only way to stop this doomsday, the only way to stop it from happening, is if you give the government all the control in the world. Which is not the case. You know, like the big offenders, this is another thing, like Greta, stupidly, really it's more her parents. No, let me correct that. It is her parents. Put out this list of like people they were condemning for attributing to climate change. India and China were not on the list. The biggest offenders, the biggest offenders in the world were not on the list. The fact of the matter is that the worst climate offenders when it comes to CO2 emissions are in Asia, not in the West. But they say nothing about it at all because they know that Westerners will give in to the guilt. Or so they think. But in the West, people are becoming a little bit more comfortable with saying to people, you're an idiot, and this isn't going to work. Because the fact of the matter is that if you wanted to give the West something to do damage to make these countries change their CO2 policies, sanctions and nuclear power. But that will never, ever get brought up.
Mm-mm.
That's why I think that Michael Knowles was right. If it was about science, scientists would be leading this discussion. How many scientists were at the March for Science? Not many.
Yeah.
Or rather, the March for Man, Bear, Pig.
Speaking of Man, Bear, Pig, we have a question here about Man, Bear, Pig.
Oh?
Swordsman 100 asks, why does the left think extreme solutions like eating bugs or people are going to convince other folks into joining the fight against Man, Bear, Pig?
People are
Did you hear
crazy.
about that?
Yes.
The eating people thing? They unironically want to make Soylent Green a thing.
I know. Dude, the crazy leftists never read old school science fiction. Ever. Because everything that they want to do is in there. Whether it's Soylent Green, whether it's 1984, whether it's Brave New World.
Mm-hmm.
That's all of those things, or Animal Farm. They all warn against these things. Anybody who had read Animal Farm would have looked at Barack Obama and said, fuck that.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and Animal Farm warns against people like Bernie Sanders. And these people who push communism. Or big-time socialism. Not that there's much of a difference. So, yeah. It is it is the way that it is. You know, a lot of people just don't seem to think about these sorts of things. But yeah, no, there's some people out there that are loons that have been driven crazy by this alarmism. They're no different than like doomsday preppers.
Not really.
They are the left-wing version of the stereotypical Alex Jones fan, you know, that isn't a memester.
It's sad, really, when you really think about it.
Yeah, not to mention, people like this don't want a world where it's okay to eat people, because I will eat all of you. Just saying.
I'm reminded of that one guy on the Chatterbox FM station on GTA who was like, talk more about eating people.
No, seriously, like, left-wingers don't think about these things. If we lived in a world where it was okay to eat people, all the right-wingers would eat all the left-wingers. Then they would ban eating people. So you just gave us an excuse to get rid of you. And we're the big ones. Like, that's a really bad idea. It's like the leftists who are constantly saying, it's like, we're going to take all your guns away. Okay, so the people who are going to be taking these guns away, supposedly, are the people who are very pro-Second Amendment. How well do you think that is going to go?
All I'm going to say is I don't want to eat anybody.
I don't know. I might put David Hogg over a barbecue. Put him on a spit.
Just because his last name is Hogg doesn't mean that you can automatically make a freaking pulled pork sandwich out of him.
Don't tempt me. Like I said, don't give the right-wingers permission. There will be none of you left. Andrew Yang wouldn't last 5 minutes. Tulsi Gabbard would be fine because she's good-looking.
We're putting in exceptions for that. Andrew Yang can't buy his way out of this one.
Exactly.
But Tulsi can.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, God.
Beto would be running south of the border.
His Spanish ain't gonna help him out that far.
Nope. Cartels might eat him.
Shit, they might do that anyway.
All right, next question.
All right, Brian Gilmartin has a question for me. Do you think socialism inevitably leads to racism? I ask because it seems like many socialists hate whites, Jews, and Asians for being more financially successful than other groups and thus are privileged. Well, yeah, that's basically what your Marxist idea of bourgeoisie versus proletariat inevitably devolves into. It is, at its core, tribalism. I mean, call it whatever you want, is trying to legitimize bigotry. And of course, when you factor in the social sciences and the whole privilege exercises into it, then it's not so much class struggle as it is, race struggle or gender struggle or sexuality or what have you. I mean, that's why you have a race to the bottom with this progressive stack thing. Because whoever is the most oppressed is the most correct when it comes to whatever opinions. It's ridiculous, and yeah, it will inevitably lead to racism. I mean, horseshoe theory, in effect. I mean, that's what we see from, the far right and fascism, and that's what we see with the far left and socialism, communism. I mean, what do they have in common? Authoritarianism and tribalism.
Mm-hmm.
It's like a horseshoe. Bends.
Yes. Of course, there are obvious differences between fascism and communists, but, there's one is more nationalistic, one is more globalistic, but there's the authoritarian, like the horseshoe theory is not like supposed to be meant to be like all encompassing. It's basically a scale of libertarianism to authoritarianism.
Yeah. Yeah, pretty much.
All right. So, let's see. Did Brimshays, did...
I guess we can go with Duke of Tumwaters next, because that one sort of follows up on what we just talked about. When do you think that the current moral panic over white identity politics will finally blow over?
I don't know. That's the problem.
I think it's going to be a while, because it would take a cultural shift for that to happen, and we're not due for one for probably 2 more generations, maybe. I don't know if Gen Z is going to save us.
Well, the big issue that we have especially is this part of the culture that has, like, and this feeds into the last question, has gone into this idea that it's okay to hate some people, and on one side it just happens to be the white folks, and it's still for reasons that I don't understand. I don't think I'll ever understand it. You spent the last 20 some odd years telling guys like me it's not okay to hate anybody, and then next thing I know it's kill whitey.
Mm-hmm.
Well, make up your fucking mind. So
yeah,
with my perspective, I am of the belief that there is something is going to have to change on the left, or the left is going to have to become less and less significant because of the hate that it has.
Yeah.
I think the latter is going to happen before the former. Because
Think
there's
so,
not
too.
enough. Tulsi Gabbard and Andrew Yang have really shitty policies, but they are at least capable of being civil.
Mhm.
That is what needs to come forward. The big figureheads need to stop hating anybody. Doesn't matter if they're rich, doesn't matter what their skin color is, or all this other shit. You can't keep playing these fucking games. Because sooner or later, people pick up on it. And nobody wants what they're selling. It's sort of like... And this kind of goes back to it. The reason that some people on the right bring up the history of Israeli politics is because the Israelis, over the last 60-some-odd years, their whole history is about phasing out really stupid ideas. The kibbutz idea of how to run a government has gone so far out the window, it's crazy. They are very capitalistic now. And Bibi still wants to keep taking them away from that old structure as far as he can get it and straight into just full-on capitalism. Another thing for them is the reason that Benjamin Netanyahu has been the prime minister there for so long, and it's been a majority right-leaning government for as long as it has, is because the previous policies got people fucking suicide bombed. And this is just something about politics that the left does not understand, is that people are able to put two and two together. Any working stiff who saw their health insurance premiums go up in conjunction with Barack Obama's Obamacare push, they put two and two together. They said, fuck this. We don't want it. All the people who watched the media and basically saw that anybody who disagreed with the in power group were racist, sexist, bigot, homophobes. They saw that but I'm not any of those things. And you're like, no, fuck this. I'm not voting for that guy. So people, they're going to have to realize they're losing power because of it before they realize that they fucked up. That's generally what it comes down to.
Mm-hmm.
All right, what do we got next?
Let's see. Let's go with this one because I think it's going to be quick. Audis Whisper asks, thoughts on the World Meteorological Organization denouncing the climate strike protesters. It seems like even they are tired of their hysterics.
Well, yeah, because they're making scientists look bad.
Yeah.
Because scientists are saying that, it's I believe a pretty stern majority say that humankind has some effect on the climate. Now, there was a study on it that was bullshit when it got analyzed, because it was 95% of all climate scientists said that. Now, almost all of them had different time periods on how much it was affecting them. And the most sensible one is that because of human interference in the next 100 years, we're going to see a general raising of the temperature of about 1 or 2 degrees. Which is a change. It's not a huge one. And the more that you push this idea that scientists are saying the world ends in 12 years, imagine being a climate scientist.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of like with being a Christian, and you've got all these people saying that the world is going to end in 10 years. And you as the Christian have to go, I don't believe that. That's stupid, And you get sick and tired of defending yourself. At least that's my perspective.
Yeah, I think it goes back to what I was saying on the podcast itself. It's a lot of hand wringing and complaining, but no real solutions proposed at all, or no real plan. It's like, why aren't you guys getting out and doing something? Well, what if people are doing something, but they can't say anything about it for whatever reason?
Or beyond
Or
that,
what if
again,
they just
why
don't know what the fuck to do?
why is the answer always socialism? Why is the answer I have to give up my freedoms?
Yeah,
You know,
which
stuff
is
like that.
bullshit.
And there's never any good answers. You know, there's never any straight answers about it. And then what else we got?
Which is the... Okay, here we go. Kelbach. Thoughts on the left's reaction to Islam is right about women in the meme. It's just another it's okay to be white bait. And this one I think is even better.
Yeah, this one I found to be a lot smarter, in a sense. Reason being is the it puts a progressive in a weird spot, because the progressives are always going to leap to defend Islam, even when it makes no sense.
Mm-hmm.
So the problem is that the left, though they won't admit it, they are fully aware of the way that Islam treats women. So if you say something like that, immediately, you put them in a rough spot.
Mm-hmm.
Personally, I'm of the opinion that this one's easily the best yet, because now they have to be honest about, you know, which side they're going to choose, women or Islam. It exposes them in a lot of ways, and I am all for that.
I am too. All right, last question. And this is a big one. Servant of God 777. Ilhan Omar, speaking of Islam, is in hot water thanks to the Imam of Peace outing her as having lied on her immigration forms, and not to mention that she's in an adulterous relationship with a married man, and the fact that shortly after the adultery came out, some woman who looks like his wife was stabbed to death, and also apparently having committed tax fraud. My question is, how long before she is forced to resign due to public outcry, or will that never happen? Sorry if this comes off as a Kafka trap, wasn't going for that.
No.
P.S. The endgame bet was for $10, and you win. I will pay as soon as I get the money. P.P.S. Good news, bad news. I lost my job. Going to use the 401 to get me a new car when it comes in.
Well, hopefully
Sorry
you're able
if
to find a
lost
new
job,
job
but-
soon, man.
Yeah.
So let's go ahead and do I think that she's gonna
Tackle Ilhan Omar.
do I think she's gonna be forced to resign? No, because she's got less than a year, I think. No, got one more year in her term, and it's looking like the members of the squad are gonna get primaried. The Democrats don't even like them.
No.
So I don't think that she's long for the political world, one way or another.
No. On top of that, Minnesota, is it Minnesota or I think it's Minneapolis Star Tribune, her hometown newspaper basically, has been instrumental in digging up this shit about her.
Yeah.
Specifically the tax fraud things. And she is waved off everything as, you know, this is persecution, or this is not nearly as bad as it looks. Like the typical, you know, get lost. This doesn't concern you. Go away now. Stop inconveniencing me.
Yeah.
That whole bullshit.
She's convinced she's going to be in power forever.
Oh yeah, no, she's not long. She's not much longer, because if she makes it through another election cycle, then more shit is going to come out about her, and then she'll be forced to resign. she will not. She will not last because she is not. She is not a good person. She is not an honest person. She is absolutely two-faced. And not only that, but she's a fucking criminal, too.
Mm.
So, no. The Democrats can deal with liars and two-faced people, but criminals, not in public.
No.
Not when they're outed.
No. I think the big part is just simply that the squad is not well liked within their own party. But, because there's talk of AOC, either one or two things is going to happen. She's going to get redistricted, or they're going to run a decent-sized name in her district, in which case she will end up losing to that person. Not to mention the Republican that is apparently going to be running in that district has already started campaigning with her, using her and how stupid she is. And a lot of these people like her, Rashida Tlaib, Ilhan Omar, they're not popular in their districts.
Nope.
And they make their districts look bad, and people don't like that. So I would think that they're probably going to get voted out.
The only thing that can save them at this point is the media. If the media continues to push them and try to push Democratic voters in their direction, in their camps, then I think the Democrats won't have a choice but to take them on. But that is going to be a choice that they will absolutely rue.
I think that's a good way to put it. Alrighty, folks. That was our last question for the week. So we're going to go ahead and take off. One thing to keep an eye out for is that this week we will be updating the merch store, link in the description, with all of the shirt designs we've been teasing you with, at least to my knowledge. So, be prepared to order, get the money ready. But if you haven't backed Englewood yet, I'm actually wearing the Born in Blood shirt.
Hey.
So back Englewood. We're so close to 10,000, it's ridiculous.
Everybody who, bought a physical thing gets more free shit. Or not more free shit, but they get free shit.
Exactly. So, with all that said, though, we are going to go ahead and take off. My name is Micah Curtis.
And I'm Alex Baldwin, and good God, we're going to have to talk about impeachment this weekend, aren't we?
Yep. We'll see you guys next time. Dave's fault.
Dave's fault.